What is up, everybody? It is your boys back again with another episode of Franchise Tag Fantasy Football Podcast. If you guys are enjoying these ranking series, please let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear your thoughts on where we have our way too early consensus rankings. Today, we're going to be jumping in the quarterbacks, hitting 24 through 13, excuse me. Other than that, boys, how we doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Enjoying my Friday night.
Solid.
Yeah.
Getting over like some sort of weird like allergy attack on my life.
A virus?
That's okay.
You have a virus, Ray?
No, it's just I feel like it's allergies. Like I'm dying from allergies.
Probably wouldn't
From
be the
flowers.
first one you had.
From flowers. They're killing me.
I get to go to a color party tomorrow, so I'm sure you guys are pretty jealous.
What is that?
It's like some TikTok themed thing where like it's like we have to dress in a certain color and bring that certain color. So we're red, so we have to wear like red and bring a red thing. So like watermelon or like Coca-Cola or something silly like that.
Hey Brennan, red's not your color, my man.
You know what else is? You know what else is red?
I'm just
wine.
fat, so no color is my color.
Wine
What?
is red. You should bring red wine. That way you can just get drunk and realize and forget you're at a color party.
I would say some things, but I
Other
think
side, Ray.
TikTok or YouTube would ban me too. So
Other side, Ray. There you go. You almost had it.
That's what I would do.
You're in reverse. Yeah. So I don't have any cool color parties to go to, Ray. I have my child's birthday party tomorrow, but that's about it. I guess technically when you're listening to this, it would have been Saturday, but
When you guys listen to this, it'll be
That's
Monday.
that's what I said. But I was talking about the birthday party would be
Yeah, I mean,
Saturday.
we're talking to our future selves.
I know it's
This is
weird.
true.
Are we living in the future right now?
No.
I wish so.
Okay.
Aaron, what do you have for us today?
I already told you, dude. We have quarterbacks 24 through 13 of our way too early quarterback rankings.
We're back on track.
We're on track. We got a little sidebar there. Anybody got any news?
No.
Nope.
Nope. Okay. Well, speaking
No.
of quarterbacks, Mr. Trubisky 2-year extension. No one cares.
It's true.
And
Y'all good?
and Samaje P. Ryan might be more involved in Denver's backfield, and that's it.
Yeah. Well, anyways, you ready for this?
Yep.
Yes.
All right, way too early quarterback rankings at number 24. Speaking of the Pittsburgh Steelers, we have Kenny Pickett. I had Mitch Trubisky on my mind, and I hated it for
I was going to say.
every second that it was there. I'm pretty sure you saw the lights go out, and it's like, oh yeah, this is what we're doing. So we have Kenny Pickett at 24. In my consensus rankings, I do have him at 24 exactly. Brennan, you have him where?
I have him exactly at 24.
Raymond.
That's crazy. We all have him at 24.
All right, I'm gonna move him just for that.
That's crazy. That's the first time we've had all three of us on the same guy, and it's Kenny Pickett.
I know, right? It's pretty sad.
For everybody that's listening, we don't actually see our rankings together until we actually talk about it. So it's like we're all learning this on the fly.
Well,
Yes.
Brennan gets a sneak peek of him, but I'm pretty sure
This
he
is true.
brain dumps him after he does it because he's the one who puts the consensus together.
Yeah.
But yeah, so anyways, 24, Kenny Pickett, he finished quarterback 28 last year. He averaged 12.2 fantasy points per game. He had 245 completions, 63% completion percentage, 2,404 yards, 7 touchdowns, 9 interceptions.
Yeah, he took over week 4 and he had a pretty rough go around as a QB, and it was rough for him in the first 5 starts, but after week 10 he somewhat picked it up. Didn't do anything super crazy, but he showed progression. That's what you want to see out of your quarterback. He has all the weapons in the world, so I think a lot of us expect him to take a bigger leap going into next year, but I just think he's a very, very late floor for like a super flex league, in my opinion.
Yeah, I could agree with that.
Yeah, I don't really have a whole lot else to add to it except for the fact that he's got some of the nicest receivers in the league to throw to. So it's got to put some points under his belt. Do I want to stream Kenny Pickett during the season right now? If the season started tomorrow? No. No, I don't.
No, I think Tomlin's a good enough coach so that he does take a step forward, and I don't think the offense is near as bad as it was last year. They went and got offensive line help. They drafted Darnell Washington in the 3rd round, who's technically could just be a 6th offensive lineman if they needed him to be. So I do think he will take a second year too. He's not a rookie anymore.
That's in his Twitter bio too. He said 6'0" lineman, which is kind of funny.
All right. Are you ready for the next one?
I think it's just impressive that Mike Tomlin's never had a losing season. So like you always got to count them as like just to be winners, which is it's just always crazy to think about.
That is fair. I feel like we're out of order. There we go. Now we're in order. So consensus ranking at 23, we have new quarterback for the Raiders. I tried to find the most handsomest picture of him that I could.
So handsome.
We have Jimmy Garoppolo, also known as Jimmy GQ. Where do you have him, Brennan? We'll start with you this time.
I have him at 23.
Ray?
I got him at 22.
I have him at 25. I adjusted my rankings. So
Okay,
after
that's
I
what I
sent them
say.
to you. Yeah, after I sent them to you.
I was going to
adjusted
say a
them.
little bit of adjustments there, but yeah.
Yeah. 2022 fantasy season, he averaged 15.25 points per game, finished as a quarterback 25. He completed 207 passes with a 67.2 completion percentage, 2,400 yards, 16 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. He got hurt too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, he leaves San Fran, is now the Las Vegas Raiders' new quarterback after the departure of Carr and that whole escapade that ensued at the end of last year's season. I think he's just a very safe QB2, very safe floor and super flex. I think we all just hope he hyper targets Adams this next season, but I think we underestimate how good of a passer he is with a career completion percentage of about 67%. So I think he always wins too wherever he goes. So
I'm going to bring up some points a little later that suggest it might just be Kyle Shanahan.
Fair enough.
So
Could be. I would like to say that, this is more towards Tay's side of this whole thing. Jimmy G does have a tendency to hyper target people when he has the opportunity to. And let me tell you, I love Jimmy G going to the Raiders if you have shares of Devontae right now. But I couldn't put him any higher. Again, maybe he's a streamer candidate going forward if the season started tomorrow, but it doesn't. So that's kind of how I feel about him right now. Is like not necessarily a streamer candidate for me. And that's where we're at 23, 24, 22. We're at the streamer category, and I don't know if I feel comfortable with Jimmy G there.
But you feel comfortable as a super flex though if you had his QB2?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Makes sense.
And I feel more comfortable if I took a shot on somebody else as my quarterback one, having Jimmy G as my back.
Say maybe perhaps draft Anthony Richardson a little early and take Jimmy G later.
Could maybe he'd be my third quarterback at that point in time if I got a chance. But yes.
Okay.
That's a good strategy though. If you went, let's say you went got a Joe Burrow or somebody else like that, quarterback one, you're in a super flex. Then you went on the turn went and got Anthony Richardson. You're taking a shot. You're gonna need somebody just in case that doesn't pan out. Jimmy G is perfect for that mold. You'll probably be able to get him later in the draft.
Yeah, could be. All right. Up next. Consensus ranking number 22, Kyler Murray. I understand he got injured last year. I understand he's going to miss some time in the season, but I do think when he comes back, he's just so electric and outside of San Francisco in a bad division as far as defensive wise. So I have Kyler at 21.
I have him at 22.
You're muted. Ray is muted, so 2022 fantasy points per game is 18.77 fantasy points per game. Where do you have him at, Ray?
I'm at 19.
Okay. He completed, before he got injured, 259 passes. Dude, he threw 390 times before he got injured, too. 66.4 completion percentage. Just over almost 2,400 yards, 14 touchdowns, 7 interceptions.
Yeah. I think we as fantasy owners are in a real weird predicament when it comes to Kyler this season. Tore his ACL week 13. I think we all expect him to miss some sort of time this season, but the question is how long. Some experts say it's just a few weeks, others say he could just miss even longer. It's just something to monitor. I expect we will adjust accordingly when the time comes around, training camp and everything else like that. When he plays, he's obviously a QB1 with a rushing ability. So he could be a late stash if you decide to punt on QB this season and not take one of the top 10 QBs.
I haven't played in 11 games.
Okay. I had him at 12.
He got hurt late in the season.
Yeah.
Late. And for a guy that relies solely on his legs to be fantasy relevant in our perspective, I don't necessarily think that he's going to return a ton of value anywhere near what you want if you drafted him high. And
No one's drafted him high.
I hope that doesn't happen.
You see in best balls and just consistently just
Yeah, he's super late. He's like in there on this hovering area here.
I don't know. I feel like he's going to miss so much more time than what
I've picked up. Go ahead.
I think he's going to miss a lot more time than a couple weeks, is what I'm trying to say.
Where do you think at like halfway through the season?
Probably November.
Okay. So like what, week 8 you think he'll be back?
If he's really pushing week 8, but more likely week 10.
Well, if that's the case, Arizona will be a really weird situation because Colt McCoy's their starting quarterback, and they own potentially 2 top picks with the Texans. Depending on how they do, very curious to see what they do with him, because obviously if they're in the position to get the first overall pick, and there's a guy named Caleb Williams, looks pretty nice. I'm very curious to see what they'll do.
They just paid him.
He got hurt week 15.
Yeah, December 13th. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Oh, at least week 10. At least.
I don't know. I can see him come back a little bit sooner. ACL and injuries aren't the same as they used to be.
I don't know. I disagree, but
yeah,
I'm always going to lean on the side of it's going to take longer for somebody to come back than they're just going to rush back and just be the same person they were before when they don't have the same body parts anymore.
You're right. They have new and improved body parts. All right. It's enough talk here. At number 21, just not everyone's your race. Some people heal better. At number 21, we have rookie phenom Anthony Richardson of the Colts.
What a good-looking guy.
Clearly, this is the only picture I could find him in a Colts uniform. I'm so glad rookie mini camps had happened. So clearly he has no NFL stats for last season. He's a rookie. He's 4th overall pick of the Indianapolis Colts, and I have him at 22.
I have him at 17. I am the highest.
I got him at 21, and I feel like I'm too low.
We'll see. Only time will tell.
I think so. I have him higher just because, like, when I went through my rankings, he's ahead of other quarterbacks, which we'll talk about here, and that's why I'll say it's why I had him higher. I think that you play fantasy to win, so I'd rather gamble on something that where if he puts it all together, we could see one of the greatest quarterbacks ever. I mean, obviously it's his ceiling. I mean, but his floor to me really is just a better rusher than Fields with not such a great arm, because he's obviously got mechanical issues. But that's honestly his floor, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I would say they're probably equivalent as a runner.
I'm just saying that, like, he's a little bit faster. Obviously, I'm just saying, like, in a sense of like rushing upside, like he can break away like the 70-yard touchdowns, like what Fields does. I'm saying that's what they're similar towards.
I would say that if you're going to take a shot on him, it is for redraft purposes. This is why he's ranked as low as he is, because this is more redraft focused. I would say you have to have a quarterback behind him, and this is like a perfect example of when you would get Jimmy G later in the draft, in a redraft. You'd take a shot on Anthony Richardson. You get Jimmy G at the very end of the draft, just in case,
To bring up old wounds, Trey Lance's rookie year, I drafted Trey Lance and then turned around and towards the end of my draft, drafted Big Ben. Yikes. It wasn't a good year for Big Ben, but it's kind of that strategy.
Yeah.
So moving on, I do have high hopes for him. I think he's going to be exciting to watch. At number 20 in our consensus rankings, we have the new Green Bay Packers starting quarterback, even though he's been on the roster for 4 years. Jordan Love. I have Jordan Love at 20.
I have Mr. Jordan Love at 21.
I got him at 23.
Ooh, wow. I didn't think I would be the highest on Jordan Love. So, y'all have heard my spiel on when everyone complains about a Hall of Fame quarterback and let him leave and we go to unknown. Anyways, he averaged 2 fantasy points per game last year and finished at quarterback 66. Didn't even realize there were 66 quarterbacks in the NFL, but it makes a lot of sense because he is also behind other backups in the NFL.
It's true.
So, 14 completions on 21 attempts for a 66.7 completion rating. Okay, cool. 195 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions with a total passer rating of 112.2. Granted, he's only thrown the ball 21 times.
Yeah. I mean, he finally gets a shot after sitting behind Rodgers for 3 years. We finally get to see what the kid is made of. I mean, he was considered a super raw prospect coming out of Utah State, but he's shown the flashes when he was given the opportunity this season. I think it was like week 11 against the Eagles, and he didn't look too bad against that Philly defense. So, like, he's not someone I'm necessarily targeting in one quarterback leagues, but Superflex, I'd be very comfortable with him having as my second quarterback.
I picked him up in best ball as a second quarterback.
Yeah.
Late,
I think that's
like,
the perfect
15th round.
draft position for him. Honestly, is best ball and for super flexes.
Yeah.
Perfect. Going into the season, I don't necessarily think that he'll be a starting quarterback for you for redraft purposes, but maybe this is where I would be more comfortable in a flex. But I know I have him ranked lower. It's just I have my expectations for the Packers offense kind of tempered until I see what it actually is. But I do think that Jordan Love is a good quarterback, and he will be a good quarterback this season. I'm tempering my expectations.
Let me ask you both: how many times do you think he finishes as a QB1 this season in fantasy purposes?
2.
I had my over/under at 2.5.
Yeah, probably 2.
Yeah,
probably 2.
Okay.
That was just gut feeling on that one. All right, I'm excited and nervous all at the same time to see how the Packers offense works this year, just as a Packers fan. So at number 19, we have everyone's favorite person to talk about last year, Russell Wilson. At one point in time, this man had more interceptions more bathrooms in his house than touchdowns.
Yes.
Right.
Throwing
right.
touchdowns.
Okay.
Yes.
There we go. So I have Russell Wilson at 17.
I have him at 20, and I feel disgusted having him there too.
I have him at 22. That's crazy.
Oh my god.
20 as well. 20 as well.
There we go.
Yeah.
I was about to clarify. So he finished somehow miraculously last year with 15.78 fantasy points per game, and as last year's quarterback 16.
How?
He completed 292 of his 483 pass attempts for a 60.5% completion percentage, just over 3,500 yards, 16 touchdowns, 11 interceptions.
Doesn't his stat line and where he finished as quarterback 16, doesn't it make you think that everyone that we had before him right now we were talking about should probably be somewhere way higher than where they were at before? Because think about Russell Wilson for 11 weeks of the season. God awful, absolute trash.
Yeah,
nobody wanted it.
Where 11 interceptions came from.
It was painful to even watch.
I mean, he only threw 2 more than the next closest person. He only threw 4 more than Kyler.
We got to watch it in prime time 7 or 8
way
times.
more than we
because it was the new hotness, the hype of the Broncos are a quarterback away, and then here comes their savior, and it turns out so it reminds me of Klay Thompson and his doppelganger that they have at Warriors games.
Yeah,
they got that version of Russell Wilson.
Yeah, I mean, it was a shit show for a season for Wilson and the Broncos. All the hype in the world seemed like a team that would scare Mahomes and the Chiefs, and this guy looked lost all season long. You can blame Hackett, you can blame play calling, but man, I think we need to give Pete Carroll some respect. The dude knew this guy's limits all along. I think that's what's the crazy thing is that like he was always mad at Pete Carroll for limiting what he can do, and Pete Carroll clearly knew what he could do.
Yeah, that being said, Pete Carroll put him in perfect situations because when he was on the Seahawks, he looked like a future Hall of Famer.
Mm-hmm. I think why we have him here is because we know Sean Payton's a really good play caller, and I think he's going to play to the strengths of his quarterback. So I could see a little more heavy run with a lot more play action. That's where he, really excelled in Seattle. So I think I have him the lowest, me and Ray do, but I think we might be a little too harsh just because like he has done it before, but I think Sean Payton's going to help him too.
Yep. That's my ranking is solely baked into the fact that Sean Payton's there now.
Yeah. He's done it before. My God, last season was bad.
Yeah.
It was awful. So like, if you're taking a risk on that one and say like, oh, he's going to be a top 15 guy, I don't know about that. That's too rich for my blood.
Nope, but he's definitely not a top 15 guy in my eyes. So
no, I'm just saying like if that's what you're thinking at home. Let me tell you.
All right, so
it's bold.
At 18, we have Matthew Stafford. I have Matt Stafford at 19 in my rankings.
I also have 19.
I have him at 18.
Okay. That's the way the cookies crumbled. So he had 12.82 fantasy points per game and finished as quarterback 32. He did get hurt last year, completed 206 passes for 68% completion percentage, just over 2,000 yards, 10 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Also one of those quarterbacks who, since joining the Rams, has had an interception problem.
Yeah. Rams went all in 2021 for the Super Bowl, and they did it. The saying goes, fuck them picks. It actually worked out for them, but they had the worst title defense in NFL history, and it showed. Stafford seemed to be sacked like almost every time he dropped back. Allen Robinson was a free agent bust. At least Cooper Kupp still showed he's an elite receiver. A lot of questions about this man's health, dealing with a bad back, but obviously he came on his wife's podcast and he has zero intentions of retiring. I wouldn't bank on him returning back to a QB1 status, but he's more so the middle of the road QB2. He's someone I'd be a waiver wire pickup for if my other QB was on the bye.
Yeah, you're drafting Cooper Kupp, but you're not trying to stack him with Matt Stafford to put into perspective.
Nope.
So
I definitely like that waiver wire guy for sure. Like if no one's going to draft Stafford, I doubt it. He's going to have probably 5, maybe more quarterback 1 weeks, probably 8. Probably
fringe.
Yeah. So
Fringe ones, but I wouldn't say 8. I'd say 6. I think
I'd
5.5 would be my.
I think 4.5 would be my line for him.
Yeah, 5.5 would be my line. I'm
Okay,
taking
cool.
the half over.
Mm-hmm.
Number 17, we have the new New Orleans Saints quarterback, Derek Carr. I have Derek Carr 18.
I have Derek Carr at 18 as well.
I have him at 17.
Okay. Derek Carr finished with 15.41 fantasy points per game last year, and quarterback 17. He didn't play the whole season either, so pretty decent from him. 305 completions for 60.8 completion percentage, just over 3,500 yards, 24 touchdowns, 14 interceptions.
Yeah, he had probably his worst season last year in almost every metric, completion percentage and interceptions to be specific. Luckily, he still supported Devontae Adams as a wide receiver 1, so it's why we all feel he's comfortable having Olave as that wide receiver 1 this season. It's like that's a ceiling. I think a new environment and having this mentality of needing to prove he's still got it will help him, because I don't blame him for the downfall for the Raiders. I think he's just had a terrible defense there every single year. He's always been a top 20 or top 15 quarterback his career. And I think clearly him and Mike McDaniels just never didn't mesh well. I think Mike McDaniels always wants his guys, and that's why he got Jimmy G, and that's why he had no problem letting Derek Carr go.
Yeah, and like his time with the Raiders, let's just say like throughout his career without Devontae for 1 year, he hasn't really had a ton of superstar help, really.
Amari Cooper, Michael Crabtree.
He had Michael Crabtree, and he had Amari Cooper for like spurts. I think that's really what everybody gets with Amari Cooper. But like, he didn't necessarily have like this elite talent around him. And if you say one guy here, one guy there, he only had those one guys. That's it.
He had Michael Crabtree and Amari Cooper at the same time.
He like one season, and Michael Crabtree
was his MVP season.
It was
before he got hurt
most of that season.
Who?
Michael Crabtree.
No, there was a year after that Derek Carr was on track to become the NFL MVP, and then like broke his back or something.
Broke his leg against the Colts.
Yeah,
I remember that game.
There it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he has been able to sustain in a good play called offense 2 very, very viable wide receivers and a very good quarterback for fantasy purposes.
What I'm saying is that he's not the reason why the Raiders have been failing this whole time. I was trying
no, definitely not.
Couple off of what Brendan was saying.
Yeah. I think he's going to go to the Saints. I think the Saints have the best bet of winning the NFC South.
What's their coach name? Dennis Allen?
Dennis Allen, yeah.
I still have no faith in him.
I still think with him, though, as a quarterback, I think he helps him out with Olave and Michael Thomas and Juwan Johnson and everything else out there. So I think I have them as my favorites to win the South.
I think so, too.
They're going to make the playoffs and get pounced first round. We good with this one?
Yep.
All right. I can't wait to talk about this guy. At 16, we have Kirk Cousins. So listen, Kirk Cousins, we have him at 16. He finished his quarterback 6 last year, 7 depending on where you look at. I'm going off of 7.
Mm-hmm.
I have him at 12.
I have him at 16.
I have him at 16.
Okay. So he finished last year with 17.92 fantasy points per game, 424 completions with a 66% completion percentage, just over 4,500 yards, 29 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. Do you want to start, Brendan, or you want me to start?
Yeah, I'll go first because I know you and I are going to banter here. So I think I am slandering Kirk Cousins. I am for sure slandering. I have no problem admitting that. I think, granted, last season when he did play the top teams, he was awful. Not just awful, but he was horrific. On the flip side, when he played terrible teams, he beat the shit out of them. And he put up QB1 numbers. let me just tell you why I have them here compared to others. Their first 8 games of the opponents next season are Tampa at home, which Tampa's got it's on our defense, in Philly, home against the Chargers, at Carolina, home against KC, in Chicago, home against San Francisco, and then they go to Green Bay. I think this last season he hit his cliff. I think, or hit his ceiling, I should say. I don't think he repeats that again. I can't.
Okay, so not scared of Tampa. Philly for sure. Everyone should be scared of Philly's defense. Home against the Chargers. Chargers defense did nothing last year to prove to me that they're going to be anything worth being worried about. Carolina, pretty decent defense. New head coach, obviously. We'll see if they keep the same defensive philosophy or not. Kansas City, hit or miss. There are definitely mismatches that you can find inside of that defense to get you through there. Chicago doesn't scare me like they used to. San Francisco, definitely not playing Kirk Cousins, not playing any quarterback against San Francisco if it's anything like they were last year. And then Green Bay, time and time again, Green Bay has been, for lack of better words, exploited with Joe Barry as defensive coordinator. As I've talked about before, we have 8 of 11 players on that team are first-round draft picks. And
it's in Green Bay, so it's not in Minnesota, just for clarification.
Doesn't matter.
All right.
Doesn't matter. So you said you don't think that he can repeat last year, right?
I think he hit his ceiling last year. I think what the numbers we saw were his ceiling, because he had an immaculate season.
Okay. He also took 46 sacks last year.
True.
It's a lot, right?
Yep.
So last year, he had a total QBR of 93.7. You want to know what the highest was? Brock Purdy had 108.
Yeah,
he finished 12th. You don't think he can finish 12th or better in total QBR?
I don't like. I mean, the stats alone are fine, but I'm saying from a fantasy perspective, I just think his ceiling was met last year.
Okay,
I don't see him being a top 10 quarterback.
All right, so last year, 2022, Justin Jefferson had 128 receptions and finished as wide receiver 1.
Mm-hmm.
Last year, Adam Thielen had 70 receptions, finished as the 31st overall wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
So if Justin Jefferson repeats, but Jordan Addison can finish top 20.
You're asking a lot from a rookie wide receiver.
So Adam Thielen from 2020 to 2022 finished 8th at 74 receptions, 67 receptions, only dropped 7 receptions, but finished 28th, and then gained 3 receptions and finished at 31st. Adam Thielen dropped off a cliff.
No, yeah, for sure. That's why they took Jordan Addison. That's why I put money on the Minnesota to take a wide receiver in the first round.
So QBR from 2020 to 2022, 4th, 5th, 12th. Mind you, he finished 2021 at 103 and Rodgers went 110, and then Rodgers again 119.2 to 105. Those were the back-to-back MVP years. Touchdown percentage, 2020 to 2022, 3rd, 8th, 18th. Highest was Rodgers in 2020, 8.7. He had a 6.8. Highest was Stafford in 2021, 6.7. He had a 5.9, which literally just a year before that in 2020, he would have beat Matt Stafford a year later. 6.9 was Brock Purdy. That's definitely kind of an anomaly with how many times he threw the ball. True. But he finished tied for 18th with like 5 other people with 4.5. I think that does go back up closer to 5, personally. Yeah. And then yards per pass thrown since 2020 to 2022, 3rd, tied 8th, 7-way tie for 16th. Tua finished first in 2022 with 8.9. He only had 7.1, so it's not like a huge difference, just a yard and a half. 2021, Burrow finished 8.6. He finished 7.5. 2020, name you haven't heard of in a long time, Deshaun Watson finished with 8.9. He finished with 8.3. And he in 2020 and 2021, he finished 11th both of those years in half-point formats. Last year, he finished, I'd say 7th from what I looked at. We've got a 6th. So I do think 5 is his ceiling, especially if Addison comes in and takes a step.
Okay.
But I think 12 is pretty solid.
Okay. I mean, you brought the stats out, which is phenomenal. When you look at stats and you're like, wow, that's a great quarterback, and then you say, yeah, it's Kirk Cousins. You literally
listen, can he perform in prime time?
Nope.
No, not really. All right, I'll give you that. Does he have a tendency to throw interceptions? Yeah, he does. But so has every other quarterback we just named, and every other quarterback we're going to name outside of Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, and
The
pretty
next
much
person we talk about, we'll have a bet. So we'll get to the next person. I know Ray's just been sitting there
Sorry, Ray. I know y'all don't like him, and don't hear what I'm not saying. I don't have any love for Minnesota Vikings quarterback Kirk Cousins. I'm just saying he gets knocked a lot and slept on a lot. So he's one of those guys that you can wait and take in the later rounds, and I still think you get a fringe QB1.
Fair enough.
Ray, I had a stink
Kirk
face.
Cousins fucking sucks. That's it. He fucking sucks.
He
is a
us in flag
schmuck.
football.
He is a bum. He plays with some of the best receivers that have been in the NFL and cannot be relied upon to be a quarterback one ever. So
I
I'm not
stopped
taking a
at
chance on Kirk
2020.
Cousins. I'm absolutely not taking a chance on Kirk Cousins.
I did a
He
3-year
should have
sample
been
size
lower.
on purpose.
I don't care. He's a bum.
He had Thielen
He's
and Stephon
trash.
Diggs and finished at 18, so that's why.
Yikes.
He's a schmuck.
All right, so number 15, we have Danny Dimes, Daniel Jones. I have Daniel Jones right here at 15.
I have Danny Dimes at 13.
I have at 15, and I see the side of like, man, he's got a huge rushing floor, blah 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 blah. But man, he has nobody to throw to except for Darren Waller right now. And do I want to take a chance on that? Do I really want that as my like QB1? I don't know. And if you're talking about him being the QB 15, probably going to be your QB1.
Yeah, I mean, last year he had 18 points per game and he finished as QB9. I mean, look what happens when you get a competent head coach and a play caller. You get a competent quarterback. He dinked and dunked all last season, but I don't blame him. He had zero help, like you guys just said. He relied heavily upon Barkley and whatever they threw out there as a receiving core. His rushing upside was his biggest asset. He rushed over 700 yards and he had 7 touchdowns on the ground. And they did get some weapons, like you said, with Waller and stuff like that. So I have him a little bit higher than both of you, and I think his upside for rushing is really undervalued.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that. We go with Danny Dimes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, at 14, consensus ranking, we have Jared Goff. I have Jared Goff at 16.
I have Jared Goff at 15.
I have Jared Goff at 13.
Okay.
And I think you're talking about somebody that slept on.
So-
Jared Goff is slept on.
2022, he averaged 17.08 fantasy points per game. Finished as quarterback 10. 382 completions, 65% completion percentage, 4,400 yards, 29 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Where he finished last year, I think, is his ceiling.
Yeah, I mean, he had a career revival last season. I think him and the offensive coordinator meshed really well. I'm very surprised the offensive coordinator decided to say, I think it's Ben Johnson's his name. He had a lot of significant interest in some head coaching jobs, but with him staying, I think he's still going to repeat, maybe not close to the numbers he put up, but pretty similar. I think the Lions also heavily invested in building around him. They took, Jahmyr Gibbs, Sam Laporta in the draft, and obviously they have Williams waiting, for 6 games, but I think when they come back, he's going to have a really nice offense, and they probably have the best offensive line in all of NFL. And I think I actually have them as my favorites to win the NFC North.
I do too.
Speaking of which, so hey, Aaron, you have him lower than Kirk Cousins. I think Jared Goff finishes higher than Kirk Cousins in points. You want to make a bet?
Oh, yeah, let's make a bet. Wait, in points or overall?
We can do overall.
Okay. Half point?
Yeah.
Fantasy Pros.
Sure.
You got a bet, man. It's done. Up next here, we have, last but not least for today, Geno Smith. This man came out and was on fire last year. I have Geno Smith at 14.
I have him at 13.
I have him at 14.
Okay. He finished with 18.46 fantasy points last year. Finished as quarterback 5. Remarkable.
Crazy.
And his offense just got better, really, than it was last season.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think another guy who literally had the best season of his career and made Seahawks fans literally forget about Russell Wilson. He led the league in completion percentage and ranked 4th in on-target percentage along with touchdown passes. I think people thought, I think we all can agree that there was, rumors of them getting a quarterback, but they did the opposite. They invested heavily into the offense. They got JSN and they took one of the top running back prospects in Zach Charbonnet, or as Ray likes Lillard. Cabernet. I don't think he finishes the top 5 again, but I think he's going to be a really good, reliable in single QB leagues.
I do too.
Yeah, I think he's the guy that if you're gonna wait on a quarterback, he's the guy to wait on. His situation makes too much sense.
Yeah, he went for 40, almost 4,300 yards last year and 30 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Whew, almost had 400 completions. He was one away. All right, well, gentlemen, you know what that means. That is it.
That is it. I can't wait for Jared Goff to get more points than Kirk Cousins.
I can't wait to watch it. I'm gonna ice you. I'm gonna give you Smirnoff on purpose. So, anyways, guys, as always, please be sure to let us know what you think down below in the comments. Let us know if you think Brennan and Ray are right, or if you're on my team, Team Aaron. You know, let me know.
Just remember that if you say that, you're on Kirk Cousins' team. Just remember that.
That's not being on Kirk Cousins' team. It's just saying he gets more.
You want to
hate
rely on Kirk
than he
Cousins when something
deserves.
matters?
No, not when he. Well, in prime time, no. In prime time, no, definitely not. So as always, guys, please be sure to leave a like, rating, comment, subscribe, follow us on Twitter. Our TikTok is beautiful. Go give that a check out too. But till later, we'll see you next.